What is going on, everybody? Bauer Brown here. Welcome back to the channel, guys, and welcome to the next video in the Blender Deco House series, I think it was. Alrighty, so as you can see, we're inside a Blender here, and we're looking at the Deco House that we were working on, right? So we made a lot of progress up to this point. I'm trying to figure out where exactly I was. It's been so long since my last video. Very long this time. It seems like I anymore I'm starting out every single video apologizing because it's been so long since the last video, but this time it's been really long. It's been like 40 days. So quite a while. A lot going on. It's just that time of the year, I guess. I knew it was going to be a problem. I've said this way back that my next few videos were going to be up in the air, how fast they get done. I was hoping for a little bit faster, better progress, but it is what it is. So let's see what we can do about pounding these out and getting these last few videos done, because it couldn't happen at a worse time, right? These are the videos you guys have been waiting for, the ones where we get into Substance Painter and, we start getting some textures put on this house so we can finally be done with it, right? But we'll get that done, so don't worry about it, even if it takes me another 40 days. Just kidding. Hopefully it doesn't, but we'll get it done. All right, so I do thank you guys for your patience, because I know, especially a couple of you guys I know have been waiting for these videos especially. So anyhow, without further ado, let's get into it and see what we get done here. So the first thing we're going to need to do before we get into the texturing, right? So I know we did all the materials here, right? So we gave them all their own colors here, the vertex colors we were using, right? Now, what I normally do is when I save it, after the vertex colors are done, I have to go through here and I'll delete all of these because I can't have these in place. Now, when you delete them out of this list, don't worry about that because they will stay on the house, right? But what I do is I don't save it at that point. If I save it, I have a backup, right? So I saved a backup of this file just in case anything goes wrong. I don't have to go back and redo all my materials and redo all my vertex colors. Everything is where I left it. So normally what I'll do is I'll delete these, right? I'll delete all my vertex colors out of the materials here. Then I'll go over into Substance Painter. I'll export everything over there into Substance Painter, do what I have to do. And if things are looking good and I know there's no problems that I have to fix inside a Blender, then I can save the Blender file because there's nothing that needs to be fixed at that point, right? See what I'm saying here? But if I get into Substance Painter and then I see that there's things that aren't quite right and I have to get back into Blender and fix some things, all I have to do is hit Control-Z a couple times, get my vertex colors back, and then fix what needs to be fixed, and then do it again. And I'll show you what we're going to do here, right? So don't worry about that part. I'll show you what we're going to do. Before we get that far, before we get into Substance Painter, there's something that we need to do. All right, there's some files that we have to download from the internet, and they're templates. That's what those files are. All right, so when we start doing like our, not our shader masks, when we get into like our specular map, stuff like that, that we're going to need a template for. All right. When we get into doing like our moss and our like the wood and stuff, or not wood. Whoa, geez, Bauer, get it together. When we start doing like the moss and the dirt and stuff like that, there's a dirt mask and a moss mask. We're going to need another template for those, right? So luckily for us, the guys at Vertex Design have made these templates for us, so we don't have to try and reinvent the wheel here. It's already done for us. All right, so what we're going to do is get ourselves into a browser here. And we're going to go to vertexdesign.net. Now, the design is DEZIGN. Now, it's all in German, right? So when you get here, if you have a browser, let me see if I refresh this page. There it goes. It asks me if I want it in English or German. Now, I'm trying to think. Not the whole thing doesn't switch over to English, or maybe it does. I know my browsers are different. Depending on which browser I'm working with, they're not all the same. But anyhow, once you get over here, and I'll have all the links in the description, so don't worry if you don't get it right. We're going to go up. I think we're going to go to modding. All right. And it's been a while since I've been here. All right. And here on Substance Painter. Okay. You want to go here. Now, as you scroll down this list, you're going to see we have different templates here. So we have project template. You want to download that. Let's see. Right here, your export presets. We're going to need that. And you can see what's involved with this, right? I think one of them is just like a wear mask. You have the specular map that you have here. And that's also your, trying to think of what it is. It's another mask. It's been that long since my last video. I can't even remember the names of these things anymore. How bad is that? But anyhow, like I said, you want to get into your, let's use your dirt mask. You want to download that. It says wear shader mask. And then just go through each one of these green ones you see, download it, right? Find a folder, find some place that you can put it where you're going to remember where it's at because we're going to come back to it. Now, I have downloaded these at one point, and you got to give me a second because I have to figure out what in the world I did with them. All right, so I'm pretty sure to be on this D drive, probably in map stuff. Let's see here. Tutorials. Oh, Substance Painter presets. How about that? There we go. All right. So in each one of these folders, right? So when you look these up, they might come zipped. Mine's probably unzipped. So you're gonna have to unzip them if they came zipped. All right. So what you want to do is you want to pay attention to the file extension here, right? This SPEXP, and that's just a Substance Painter export, I believe. And then we have the shader mask dirt, right? And that's an SPSM. We go through, we got the where, also an SPSM, and then the project template itself for the Giants Engine 8.0. Now, don't worry because it says 8.0 and we're on 9.0 and about to get into 10.0. Doesn't make a difference. It still works just fine. No problems there, right? And once you get better with Substance Painter, you'll be able to make your own templates and masks and stuff like that. That's a little bit down the road once you get more familiar with it. Okay. All right. Now from here, this is the part that confused me a little bit, the tricky part. So what we're going to do is we're going to minimize this and we'll open up another folder here, another file explorer. It's trying to figure out exactly what folders these went in. Now, for me, it took a lot of Googling to try and figure out which was which. But I think, let's see if we can work our way through here. So if we go to program files, there's Adobe. Let's see here. We have Substance Painter. All right. Now from here, now I didn't look this up ahead of time. I probably should have because it's been a while since I've been inside of here. But let's see. We can go through, I think, starter assets. All right. Now export presets. And what I'm looking for is a folder that has all this, like the SPEXP, right? So this is the folder where we could copy all those over. All right. So in here, the export presets was that SPEXP. Just take all of these, gather them all up, right? And for me, this is good because I just reinstalled Substance Painter. So these are not in here yet. So I'm doing this for the first time myself. All right. So really quickly, let's go back just so you can see where I found that, right? So I went into my D drive and I went into program files. Now yours might be someplace different. It might be your C drive. I believe by default, all the Adobe products like to install right to your C drive. All right. But I usually put mine someplace different. I have mine on an external drive. Probably not sure why I do it that way. Probably because I have limited room on my C drive. But anyhow, go into your program files. So it's not your program files x86. Just go into your program files. All right. And then look for Adobe. Once you find Adobe, find your Substance, your 3D Painter. Right. Go into there. Now we're going into resources. And from there, we're looking for a folder called starter assets. Okay. All right. Now from here, the first folder I had was export presets. So I'm going to go back to my Adobe folder here. Let's do this. Put one on either side. All right. And I'm just going to grab all of these and I'm going to copy them over here. Right. So just copy everything over into that folder. All right. And then we can just go to the next folder in line. All right. Now this is an SPSM. So I'm looking for a different folder. All right. And this is smart materials, maybe smart masks. Let's see. I don't believe it's smart materials or smart masks. That's SP. Okay. Basically, all you're doing is you're just going through these folders to try to find the folder that has the file extension that these all match up to, right? Some of you guys might know what they are right off the top of your head. Unfortunately, I do not. Like an SPSM, I think that's what I needed to Google to find out what kind of file that was, what an SPSM was. See, we got templates, smart materials, shaders, about presets. Ooh. Materials, no. So it may not be in there. How about, let's look in different folder. I would think it would be in there. Alpha, color LUTs, effects, emitters, environments. No. All right, export presets I was already in. Anyhow, and to make to speed this up a little bit, this is basically what you're going to be looking to do, right? You're going to be looking to match up your file extensions. You have to go through here and find out which one of these folders it goes in. I know I already explained this, but just in case this takes me a lot longer than I wanted it to, you'll know in the end what needs to be done here. Now, SP mask. So we can always Google it. Okay, here's SPSM. All right, so this was under smart materials. Okay, so let's go up one, and what we'll do is we're going to take this whole folder, and I'm going to copy this whole folder in here. All right, so I'll copy that there. My shader mask dirt. All right, and the shader mask wear also went in there. Actually, let me go up one. Let me look under smart masks. Okay, I know it was already in there. I just wanted to make sure. All right, and then we're going to go and copy that wear in there also. All right, so we'll copy that in there. And the last one we have is a project template and SPT. All right, under templates, there we go, is our SPT. So we can open that up. We can copy that over. All right. I know the first time that I had to do this, like I said, it was a lot of Googling, trying to figure out what files were for what extension. And I couldn't find my Adobe because I have several Adobe folders. Right. So if you go in your user data, there's also Adobe folders in there. I have copies of it on each computer, and I had multiple copies on this computer. I ended up just reinstalling this one. I had some sort of problem. I don't know why, but I did. I had a problem. All right. So let's see if we can't find, let's go to all apps. We'll go to Adobe and we'll go to Substance Painter. All right. Let's give this a minute or two to get this started up. You know, it starts a lot faster on my home computer because I believe I have that on a solid state drive. This one, not so much. A little bit slower because it's on an external drive. Okay, now we got that all started up. We are inside of Substance Painter now. Now, what you want to do is right here, you can see all my materials are loading up. Now, I have a ton of my own materials in here. I don't believe it's under assets. Maybe it is. If I click on... Yeah, well, I think where it says your assets, I can actually link to my Adobe account and it'll load up all of my materials that I have in there. And why does that not want to stay open? I only have 3 of them in there now. It's been a while since I've been in here. My assets. Oh yeah, so I have 246 available for with my subscription. See, and that's one of the reasons that I like to do when I pay for mine, when I pay for the full suite, or at least pay the subscription fee, because what you can do is you can go on to Steam. Let me see if we can look that up on Steam real quick. You can go on to Steam. Just got done buying a game. Let's go to store. All right, we'll go to feature. Now I know here you can look up Substance Painter. There we go. So we've got Substance 3D Modeler, Designer, and Painter. Now it's $199. All right, which is kind of steep. But the thing with this is you're not tied to a subscription plan, right? So it's a one-time fee. You pay the $199, and that's it. Now the only caveat with that is you're locked into this 2024. Right. So now I think you get updates for 2024, but when you move into a new version, that's it. You don't get, 20, you won't automatically roll over to 2025. All right. I'm pretty sure you get all the updates with 2024. All right. So that's a nice thing about it, is that you're not on a subscription fee. Now, at that point, you're responsible for all your own materials, right? Which isn't too hard. Once you get used to it, you'll get used to what it takes to create your own materials, right? So if you're used to like going to any of these other sites and working with like PBRs and stuff like that, you'll be able to create your own materials. There's lots of tutorials on the internet that'll help you do it. Not a big deal, right? But I use a lot of other Adobe products, so I end up just paying for the whole suite. So I am paying for a monthly subscription. And this is how I end up with all these assets up here, right? Where I got 246 downloads available, which is quite a bit. So if I need any materials, I got quite a bit that I can still download, right? And Adobe's got a lot of decent materials, but don't let that be a deal breaker for you, because there's a lot of free materials out there, and there's a lot of people creating materials outside of Adobe that work just, they work fine inside of Adobe, and they're excellent materials. All right, so it's going to be up to you what you want to do as far as that goes, right? Now, with me, I like having, they'll give me so many a month that I haven't used it for, a little while here. And that's why I got 246, because I just haven't used any for a while. All right, let's go to all assets here. All right, so what we want to do here, these files that we downloaded, one of them was the project file, right? So when we start a new file, right, now you can see that right up here, the template that came up was the Giants Engine 8, right? So you'll have all sorts of stuff come up here. This Maxwell, non-PBR, PBR metallic, blah, 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 right down the line. The one that you want to pick when you're making things for Farm Sim is this Giants Engine 8, all right? And then you want to pick your resolution, what size document you want to be working with. What size do you want your texture going to be? Is it going to be 2048, 4096? I think mine, I usually keep 2K, and I work with OpenGL, right? And then once that's done, you can just start your program, or create your new file, right? Not a problem. So what you're going to need to do, though, is to find the file that you want to import. All right. And from there, it's just finding like one of these, like the shader house here. You open that up. You're going to export it as an FBX. All right. And we'll get to that probably in the next video. We're going to get into exporting, right? So we'll go through and we'll delete all of all the materials and those vertex colors out of our project in Blender. And we'll export that as an FBX that we can now import into Substance Painter here. All right. All right. So you can see, there we go. We have our project loaded up, right? Now, I'm not going to be able to do it on this one, but what I'll do here is you're going to go up to this croissant looking thing, right? And it says baking. You can press F8 also. So we're going to go press that because we want to bake all of our textures. Now you can see up here, my texture set list, everything showed up. And that's what I'm trying to avoid, is to have this column, doorknob, doors, driveway. I don't want all of these to show up. I just want one single material to show up. All right. But that's what we're going to end up doing when we come back and do this the second time. We're going to come through and we're going to click on ID. And then from the color source, we're going to pick vertex color, right? Because we signed a vertex color to all these. And then we'll go ahead and we'll bake selected textures. And that's going to give us something that we can work with. All right. Now from there, what we have is, oh boy, it's been a while since I worked from here. Let's see. Let's go to all assets. I think my other one's set up a little bit differently. I had a little bit of a bar here up here before, right? Oh, here it is, assets. All right, so up here's where I'm talking about. Right, when we get into, that says all libraries, smart masks. Okay, get into there. I don't believe there was a smart mask. Filters, brushes, got to be smart materials. Yeah, it is smart materials. All right, so if you look down in here in your smart materials, don't worry about remembering all of this, because when we actually texture the house, we're going to go through all of this again. But the smart material should be in here for the right here, Giants. So we got the Giants shader mask dirt. We got, I got two of them. I must have done this twice. For some reason, when I reinstalled it, it must have retained my original ones. Because I did have to reinstall Substance Painter all over again. And I just assumed that I had to reinstall all of my smart materials and stuff like that. So I can go through and just delete one of each of these. I don't need that many copies. All right. All right. And then from here, like what we'll do is, and I'll show you guys how to do all this stuff. We're going to have textures on this whole thing. Now you can see I could probably texture it now because I do have like one material there. So if I just pick like a random texture, Let's see this old wood. Not sure if this will work or not. It might, but I didn't bake anything yet, so it's a big might. All right, so it kind of did. It threw something up there on the roof. There we go. All right. Now with these, we can adjust our tiling so this is bigger, smaller. Man, this thing works a lot slower than my home computer. There we go. All right. So inside of smart materials here, back up the giants. And this is our dirt, right? So we would just drag that on top of it, and that would add. You can see the dirt that showed up there. Now in the texture settings, I believe, is it in the texture settings? Okay, you can see the shader mask dirt, and we can see that there's a shader mask for moss. I think it's in the properties. All right, see down here on material, there's a thing for dirt and moss. All right, this is something I'm going to explain in the next video. Is something that you're not necessarily going to want to have activated on every single time you make one of these textures, right? So let's go to dirt. See how I'm not sure how I want to explain this. I'll have to think about it by the time I do the next video. And this way, I'm not stumbling over my words trying to figure out how I want to explain this to you. Um, this dirt is used mostly for vehicles and stuff. Like you could do the same thing with the moss, and you could throw the moss on there. And there's different ways to adjust this to have more moss, less moss. Now, the way it works with vehicles is the vehicle is typically clean, and as you drive it around, and you guys know all this stuff, right? And as you use the vehicle and you're driving it around, then it gets dirtier and dirtier. Houses are a little bit different, right? So houses aren't necessarily that way. They don't start out perfectly clean and then get dirtier over time, right? So the dirt is just kind of there. So I don't necessarily stress over the moss or the dirt because there's plenty of other ways to add moss and dirt through Substance Painter, right? And the reason that I don't use these dirt and the moss, this is what I was just trying to explain to you, and I was tripping over my words. The reason I don't necessarily do it this way is because when you have one of these activated, right, where it says moss here, when it gets into Giants Editor, it bakes that into the building, into the shader mask, right? So when you get inside of Giants Editor, it doesn't look quite right. It throws your texture off, so it looks like really dirty, or it just. And I'll show you this. I'll show all of this to you. I promise I will, and not 40 days from now, hopefully. So I tend not to use these that much. I do use them, but not as much. And I'll explain how and why, and I'll show you examples of what happens. And then the wear mask would be let me see. Do I have one more in there? Okay, so you got rust also. You got rust, and you have a shader mask wear. These are both also for vehicles or some kind of metal component that you're using. The wear would be for like around the edges of an object where it looks a little bit worn. It doesn't look, like on a corner. It looks chipped. It looks worn, basically. That's hence the shader mask wear. And then we got rust. And again, there's other ways to add wear and rust. So you don't feel like you have to be tied into these two things. Like they're an absolute must have that you have to use these two smart materials, because there's definitely other ways to achieve the same result just as easily. But it's nice to have, right? So make sure you have these. So in a nutshell, those were the files that we downloaded, right? So we downloaded the one for the template, all right, the project template when we started this up. And then these 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, the two smart materials between the dirt and the moss. And then we have the wear and the rust, right? So we had those. And then the last thing is when we want to export our textures, right? So we'll go to export textures. This is when we're all done, right? So you'll pick your output directory. And again, I'm going to explain all this to you when we get that far. All right. And then you're going to pick down here, you see this Giants engine. I think I ended up renaming this because I have a bunch of them in here. The Giants 8 asset, Giants 8 second UV. And I'll explain this again. Right. I think I even named mine Giants 9. Now on this, you can go to output templates, right? And there's ways to change all of these around. If you need to change any of these, right, for like your specular mask and stuff like that, right here is your specular mask, right? And there's ways to put all of these together. Now, if you're only using, how do I want to explain this? So if you're only doing vehicles, right? So you have certain materials, this is what it's going to export, right? It'll learn you just your normal and your specular for the vehicle. Second UV mask is just your building shader. Second UV, these might be ones that I made up. I'm not sure if I did or not. Your diffuse, your normal, your specular, and your building shader. So this is what you would normally use. This is what's confusing me. I have two copies. I just got to watch which ones I remove because I did alter my copies. It doesn't look like it wants to remove them. And what I did when I altered it, as you can see that this one says Giants Engine 8, the second UV. All right, this will be what we normally use, typically use like on a building, because it has our diffuse, it has our normal, our specular, and this will be our building shader. Now, on this one, you can see that we have, if you look up each one of these, it'll tell you what it's actually using to put these together, right? For the specular, right? So we can use, it shows the files if you hover over it. Having a hard time explaining what it is that I wanted to say there. But let's take the normal, for example. So the normal, instead of using the OpenGL, you could use, if you want to use DirectX, you go down here and you can see that we have normal DirectX, right? So I could add another RGB layer to this, right? And then I could add my DirectX to that instead of using the OpenGL for my normal. So for mine, and I'll show you, I created two normals, right? So when I export my textures, I get a diffuse, I got two normals. I have an OpenGL and a DirectX, and then I got my specular, my normal mask, and then this here, right? So I just dumped that on there. And what would I do that from? RGB channels, right? And then that would be normal from DirectX, and then I would give this a name, right? I know that doesn't. I'm tripping over my words now because I'm getting into territory that I didn't quite prepare myself for. But again, this wasn't necessarily part of this tutorial. I just wanted to show you guys what it was that you were downloading and installing, right? So this is pretty important because these are your export templates, right? So when you export all of your textures, you don't have to go through and make up any of these these templates yourself. This is already done for you. Okay, and this is nice. But again, like I said, not the end of the world. You will eventually figure out how to make your own by going into these export templates and altering them, right? So it's not as bad as it might seem, right? It's not as daunting as it might seem. All right. So go through. Not sure what I was going to have you go through. Go to the website that I just showed you guys, right? This Vertex design. Go ahead and download everything that you need to download. If you need to back up into video, go find those file folders here and get everything copied over into your templates. From here, I think I'm just going to have to go through and just delete everything again. Because I don't see a second Giants in here, right? I only see one of them. So I'm not sure. Right, so if I go into, I have dirt and wear. Yeah, so I'm not sure where it's storing the second copy at. As you can see that I had two copies of each one. But anyhow, like I said, go through, get everything downloaded, unzip it, move it over to the proper folders for your Adobe, and then you're pretty much good to go at that point, right? So the next video, what we'll do is, like I said, we'll go through all of these materials here, all of these vertex colors. We're going to delete all of them but one. We'll give it a name, and then we're going to export it over into a Substance Painter. And from there, we're going to be ready to rock and roll, right? So we're just going to test it out. We're going to give a material in there. We're going to give a texture to each one of our vertex colors, and I'll show you how that's done because there's a certain way to add the textures to a vertex color. All right, so I'll show you how that's done. We'll get everything looking really nice. And then we'll modify one or two of our export templates so I can show you how. I kind of gave you the gist of it now, but I want to show you the right way to do it without me tripping over my words and sounding like an idiot. But we'll go ahead and we'll get that done. And that's it. By the time we're done with that, I'm going to have to look back and see what I did and what I didn't do, because I don't think we went over. I think there might be one or two more things that need to get done here. I'll have to go back and review what I did so far in this series. I know. If I wouldn't wait 40 days in between videos, I'd remember everything I did, but I don't. So you have to forgive me on that one. And like I said, I can't promise, but I'm going to try my best to not have it take so long between videos. Just a lot going on right now. There really is. All right, so I'm going to leave things right there. And with that being said, I'm Bauer Brown, and I will see you on the next one.